Popcorn world.
Can I make you groove now? Yes, I can. So you can get this groove in a bag of a can. You can make it round the world and the holes in your hand. Popcorn world. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. 250 flavors gonna make you smile. I said popcorn make you smile. Ah. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. Popcorn world. It's a popcorn world. It's a popcorn world.
You're now listening to BLEAV in the ACC with Heisman Trophy winner and Florida State legend, Mr. Charlie Ward, Wave 3 TV, and Fern Creek Hall of Famer Kendrick Haskins, and Mr. Talking Noise himself, and of course Mama Noise's man, Lloyd Spence. And now, it's time for BLEAV in the ACC.
We have returned from a beautiful, beautiful summer. A fun summer. We've returned. We're back.
A busy summer.
A busy summer. It was definitely a busy summer. That's the great Kendrick Haskins. That is the incomparable Charlie Ward. I'm Lloyd Spence. We're glad to be here. We believe in the ACC. We've returned. And we got a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. That's what happens when you've been gone a while. You build up the coffers. And now there's a lot, and now there's a lot to discuss, right? So
right.
Charlie Ward, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. Just
back from your world travels?
Still traveling, but
travel never stops for Charlie.
It's been a whirlwind tour, but it's been good though. All good things happening.
All good things. All good things. When you go on vacation, I'm not gonna out you, Charlie. If you're not Instagram friend with Charlie, then that's your fault. He's a great Instagram follower. That's your fault.
Right.
So
yes.
I'm not gonna out him where he was. He can say it if he wants to, but I'm not gonna out him. But I am gonna say, when you travel in the manner of which you have traveled, are you more tired when you return, or are you more relaxed when you return?
Well, for that specific trip, that was a family vacation, which
Right.
We were able to go with a family of ours we met 10 years ago when we moved back to Florida.
Okay.
And so they've been really, really good friends. Our kids have kind of grown up together. We were missing Josh, but we grown up together. And so it was our word, what we call it. They're the birds and we're the ward. So we call it word. Family vacation, 10th anniversary. And
Nice.
It was in Trinidad and Tobago where our sister Michelle, she's from there.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
nice.
It was good to be able to go and see where she grew up and meet her family and just get a chance to spend time with them. So it was pretty cool.
All right.
Never been there.
I got to ask this question before we get going here. I have to now since you said that. There is like tension and beef between the Trinidad Tobagians and the Jamaicans over whose oxtail rice and pea is better. Were you able to have oxtail rice and pea in Trinidad and Tobago? And by comparison, have you ever had it towards. Now I know you got the vegan thing, but you can't go to Trinidad and Tobago and not have oxtail rice and beef. You cannot do that.
Have you met Charlie Ward?
I have, but Charlie, come on now. You gotta.
It happened. I mean, it happened. I didn't eat oxtail, so
You did or didn't?
I did not.
Told you. I said,
Okay,
have you met
I'll leave it
Charlie
alone.
Ward?
I'll leave it
I was
alone.
in the-
I'll leave it alone.
I was in the room.
You're in the room when it got
When it
started.
happened. I was in the room when it happened, but I didn't indulge.
Charlie is not going to succumb to your peer pressure to eat meat.
So listen, I'm all for it. I'm here for it. I love the discipline. I actually love the discipline. Okay, well, what was the reaction in the room? Then I'll ask that question.
Well, most of the food there, of course, was authentic, and so it was all good.
Nice.
You know, burgers, the doubles. I mean, doubles was like the popping thing. People had stands all over the place for those doubles. They were everywhere. We were eating fruit, mangoes,
Oh, can you imagine a mango off the island?
star fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty much coconuts. So had to have coconut water. That was
Yeah. Oh yeah.
was thriving to make sure that happened. So we were going near and far trying to find good coconut water. So it was pretty cool.
All right. Sounds like you had a good time, Charlie. I had a good time. And of course, Kenny Haskins. I don't know if he's been vacationing because he's been working pretty hard.
I actually did. Like when the PGA Championship ended that Sunday at 7:00 that night, I was on a flight for Florida at 6:00 that morning. So
Okay.
yeah, we went down to Marathon, which is in the Keys.
Yeah.
And we spent the week down there. It was awesome. It was awesome. We spent the day in Key West, and yeah. Word to the wise though, don't try to drive back from the Keys on Memorial Day. Not the best idea in the world.
We got it. We got it.
No, that 2-lane highway is not built for traffic. Even though it's wide enough to have more than 2 lanes. It's dumb.
Some lessons you learn on your own, and some lessons you learn vicariously through friends. This is one I'm learn through friends. Okay. All right. Well, listen. There's others that are, I wouldn't call what other people are doing today or this weekend vacation, but they're definitely having an experience, and it is Charlie Ward's Seminoles. They have decided to open the season in Dublin, Ireland. Charlie, I'm hoping you're familiar with this situation. How did this happen, and why did they? Is it because of the Notre Dame follow? No, they're not playing Notre Dame. They're playing Georgia Tech. So how did this happen?
But I think I don't know. I don't understand it because the two teams are like 4 hours apart here.
Right.
So, but I mean, I understand it. It's always the week 0 games, and everyone wants a different experience. So that's kind of the experience that we were taking. So of course there's money probably involved for this opportunity. But it's a great opportunity for FSU and Georgia Tech because you get a chance to be the first game, big game, I should say, of the year, which is, very good. Most times you have the solid games that are at a neutral site. They come a little bit later, but for us, it gives fans an opportunity to go to Ireland, which they seem to be enjoying themselves there. And everyone was excited about going. So it kind of achieved a lot of different goals that they had set for this to be in Ireland. And then there's some type of coalition that they're trying to form between Ireland and FSU probably ACC is involved in there somewhere as well. So I just think it's a win-win. I mean, I don't understand it playing Georgia Tech. I could see like someone else, but
Right.
since it's a conference game, you have to go with the flow and make sure that you're putting your best foot forward, regardless of where the game is being played.
I figured that college football was doing the country of Ireland a solid after they sent Northwestern and Nebraska over there. This is an apology. We're gonna send over a good team with some stakes on the line for the ACC.
Yeah, it didn't work well last time. Yeah, and I kept thinking in my head when I heard about the game, I kept thinking, that's why I keep thinking, I can't for some reason shake it. Like, oh, they're sending Notre Dame. It's gonna be Notre Dame and Florida State, and I kept thinking the whole time, and then I realized it's not Notre Dame, it's Georgia Tech. I'm like, Georgia Tech, that's a weird pairing, but okay. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird. I wonder how they both feel about losing a home game or a potential home game.
Florida State didn't lose a home game.
It was Georgia Tech that lost.
It's a Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech
is losing a home game.
Right.
I'm sure they're thrilled about that. Being that wins don't come that easy in Georgia Tech, so.
Hey, you got to think for Georgia Tech, that's 2 years in a row where they opened the season not at their stadium. Because, last year they played U of L. Granted, it was in Atlanta, but, I mean, it wasn't.
Does Georgia Tech have that kind of following? Like, people follow Georgia Tech across the country like that? Or across the world like that?
Apparently. I mean, it's the game I heard was sold out. There's like 31,000 seats, I do believe. And
wow,
I know Florida State had about 17,000 people supposedly going. So I guess there is a following for Georgia Tech.
Apparently so. Wow. All right. Well, I mean, like I said, I was a little shocked that it was those two teams, but it should be an interesting game. And listen, I'm all in on football being back anyway, so it doesn't matter to me. Like I'm ready to see something competitive.
Yeah, because I can't watch the preseason.
Yeah, the preseason has been wow. It's been a lot, and then listening to our media brethren trying to contrive stories of interest about the preseason is even more tiring. So I'm ready to see something of substance. So this is going to be a lot of fun. Well, listen, we're here. College football is back. It starts this weekend. And every year we like to do our ACC predictions. And so there's no reason for us to not do that this year and bring you into that world again and tell you what we think, as they say. So I always get excited about this because I don't know. We do pretty good with predictions on this show as far as the bigger picture. But, it's funny, looking at the bigger landscape of the ACC this year, I got to be honest with you, it feels like the ACC is going to be top-heavy, meaning that whatever teams are going to end up being good, they're probably going to be very good in the ACC. And whatever teams are going to be bad, they're going to be really bad. And it's going to be like a lot of them. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what you guys think. So we can get moving here on our predictions or whatever. But we'll definitely need to start with the Seminoles. And then I always love the schedule releases and how they look.
And the art and stuff.
Right. So this is Florida State doing their thing. They got Georgia Tech, Boston College, Memphis. So Cal and SMU, which is a nice, friendly start, I would say, to the season.
Should be.
And then, of course, they go Clemson, Duke, Miami, North Carolina, Notre Dame, Charleston Southern, and then ending the season with Florida. So, guys, your thoughts on Florida State's season and what it looks like? predictions.
Charlie.
I mean, it's I know I know they would be prepared to win every game because of the talent that they have, and people are, of course, when you lose, the talent that we lost off of the team that went 13-0.
Right. And
There's
should have played
always
for the national championship. I'm sorry. I'm not over it.
and they have people that players that came in to replace them, and some other guys that's going to need to step up. One of the things I do know we have is we will have a solid defense once again.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
That was the thing that carried us at the end of the year for the most part. But they were pretty solid all season, which gave us the opportunity to win a lot of games. And so that's always, easy when you're trying to accomplish great goals. You got to have a solid defense.
Right.
And I think we're very good across the board, with depth and what have you. Just hope we don't have to test our depth very early. But we do have quality depth there. Offensive line, pretty solid as well. A lot of guys returning from last year, which, as we know, they had a really good running game. The running back room is solid as well. The addition of the Williams player that came from Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually really good. And then you got LT, and then they have some younger guys that they'll be throwing in the mix. And so the backfield is pretty sound. Tight end room is probably sound. Just we're going to have to see, what they're going to muster up. They have some guys in that room that has played, but I don't know if that would be a focal point. But they will be serviceable, play their role. One of the biggest question marks is who's going to really step up and be the go-to guy in the wide receiver room.
Right. Big loss in Keon Cole. Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's kind of what we're going to be waiting to see. Because from a quarterback standpoint, I do believe DJ and Brock and Luke will, be good enough to win football games consistently.
And the DJ you're speaking of is DJ Uiagalelei.
DJU.
It brings me great joy to be able to. I've spent 4 years of this show pronouncing that name, and it brings me great joy every single time.
Our nightmare has returned. Our weekly nightmare of Lloyd saying his name has returned.
DJ.
One last ride.
But the thing is, a lot of people are these first at least 3 games are going to be really, really tough. Georgia Tech, Boston College, even though, we're playing them on Monday night, November 2nd, they're still going to be tough. And Memphis, a lot of people are looking at Memphis, but they're picked to win their conference and also be the member to represent the group of 5 in the college football playoffs this year.
And that's
that Coach Norv would schedule that game, being, where he came from.
I was just going to say, especially that early, because that is the definition of a trap game. That Memphis is not. That's their early bowl game, and they know it. That's their first playoff game, and they know it. So they're coming both guns blazing. And I would imagine that Memphis crowd is going to be in the building because that's not that long of a trip that they can't make it for a weekend. So,
well, regardless of where you played it, that type of team, I mean, it's going to be a tough game. So
Absolutely.
it's probably best to get them early.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
then
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
the-
Yeah.
And both teams should still be relatively healthy. So yeah,
So-
I mean,
Right.
So do you guys have a prediction for this season for the Florida State Seminoles?
Either 9-3 or 10-2.
Okay.
yeah, I can get
Um,
with that. I agree with that. I'm leaning more towards 10-2, to be honest with you. Because I think the three toughest games, of course, are Clemson, Miami, and Notre Dame. And so I think they'll take care of business against Clemson. Miami, once again, we're back with Miami's being back. Usually by that point in the season, we know they're not. And so
right.
I'm gonna go 10-2, but I think the ceiling is 12-0. I can see them going undefeated.
You can see them going undefeated. Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I trust them beating Clemson at home. I don't trust Miami at all, and I'm not that high on Notre Dame at the end of the season either.
Notre Dame is this is the most wild card I think Notre Dame's ever been. Because I like them having Riley Leonard. I love that. I just don't know what that means to the whole thing. And it doesn't feel like, I don't know. You just don't know. Like you just don't know. And we've yet to see.
And they're going to get all the hype. And
for sure. It's already started. Yeah. It's already started.
That game, if Notre Dame does take care of business like they should, I mean, that game is going to be a college football playoff preview, I think.
For sure.
And so yeah, that'll be a huge game.
Sure.
I trust Florida State. Looking at their schedule, all the teams they play, I trust Florida State more than I trust the other tough teams on their schedule.
To me, the games that are like tricky is the Memphis game. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I know we're gonna get to it here in a minute. The Clemson thing, I think we're right back where we started. I really do. I really do. So that one doesn't scare me as much. But the like you said, the Notre Dame and then the Florida is you just don't know. Like those rivalry games, man, you just don't know. It feels like Florida State shouldn't have any problems with them, but
it's a rivalry game with a lot on the line.
But I will say this: 10-2 doesn't seem unreasonable to me. It does not seem unreasonable. But 9-3 would not be shocking. So, all right.
All I care about is we make it to the ACC championship game.
Yeah.
And win the ACC. We do know we would definitely be in the playoffs.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Don't leave anything to chance if you're Florida State. We've seen how that works.
We've learned in past. Yes.
The Georgia Tech schedule thing didn't.
They didn't put much time into it.
Well, this one, I had to get this from somewhere else. Theirs didn't look very good, so I didn't want to embarrass them. So I just put.
It went old school.
They're going old school on there.
It does look very 80s.
Right. It's like the card they hand you as you're coming through the door for the game. But they got Florida State, Georgia State, Syracuse. So technically they have 2 road games to start the season. Florida State and Syracuse in the ACC. And then they got VMI then at Louisville. So the 3 toughest games to start the season are on the road.
They've got a very tough schedule there.
Yeah, and then they got Duke, North Carolina.
I can see them going 3-9.
Yeah, the thing about Georgia Tech is that they haven't settled like a lot of the stuff that they need to settle to be competitive. And so I think that's going to show up this Saturday when they play Florida State. You're going to see exactly what we're talking about. And I think that's going to follow them in the traditional Georgia Tech fashion Like they probably won't have figured any of their stuff out until right around that Duke North Carolina games, and then after that it's a sprint to the finish line. Can they get to 6 games? So I'm gonna say it's probably more likely that they're 4-8, 4-9, whatever. Is it 12 games? 12 games. So 4-8.
Mm-hmm.
That's my prediction on them.
Because looking at the thing is with them is like, they're still kind of building, so you don't really trust them on the road. So you look at the home games as the wins, but then look at their home games.
Yeah, the home games are rough.
Home games are brutal.
Rough.
So.
Yeah. I only see. I think Syracuse could be a win, maybe only
That's
because that's because that's a toss up. The VMI should be a win. Obviously, the Georgia State should be a win. And then I think Duke is going to fall back to a new reality, regardless of who their coach is. I know it's Manny Diaz, but I just don't think they're ready yet. Like Malik Murphy. Go ahead.
They're not ready. They're not reloading. They're rebuilding.
Not yet. I like having Malik Murphy, I think, but I don't know what Malik Murphy really is. That's the question, because there's a reason why he left Texas. So now they definitely had a crowded quarterback room. So
I was gonna say that's the reason why he left.
That's why he left. I mean,
right. They definitely had a crowded quarterback room, but that also might be.
With the backup quarterbacks getting more NIL money than Brock Purdy's getting paid in this San Francisco 49ers.
Isn't that something? Brock Purdy is grossly underpaid as a professional. So I don't know. I'm going 4-8. What are you guys thinking?
I'm going 6. I think they can win 6 games.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah. They're gonna beat somebody. I think they're talented enough. Like NC State, North Carolina, Duke, and then you got VMI, Georgia State, and then they're going to have to beat, hopefully not Florida State, but like Syracuse, or Virginia Tech, North Carolina. One of those teams, 2 of those teams to get there, which they're capable of doing, I do believe, if they stay healthy. But I can see them probably winning at least six games.
Okay, all right.
I'm not quite as.
I don't think they're that bad, and we'll see. Mm-hmm. We'll see that here on Saturday.
I don't even feel like it's that. I know it sounds like I'm being negative, but I don't even think it's even a thing where they're going to be that bad. I just think their schedule is that tough. I say and they're going to be a young team, and when you look at with young teams, you look to win most of your games at home, and their home schedule is tough with Notre Dame, Miami, and NC State there, and so I think I can see Charlie. I can see the 6 wins, but I'm going to lean more towards 4.
Yeah, the 6 seems ambitious, but I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if they won the 6. Right. So yeah. All right. As we move right along, speaking of the Duke Blue Devils, they are.
That's nice.
That's nice. This is very well put together. Shout out to Duke for this one. So they opened the season with Elon, and then they played Northwestern. Is that a rivalry? And I guess in academic circles, that's a rivalry.
That's a great debate club rivalry.
Right. Listen, in the debate club, this would be. Or broadcasting, this would be a huge rivalry. This is massive. Then they have Connecticut and Middle Tennessee. So a nice ease into the season for them in those 4 games.
You think they can very well be 6-0 going into that Florida State game and haven't played.
Listen, well, but again, that's if you trust Manny Diaz. I don't know if I trust him.
There is that part.
Right. So it gets a little. It's not a horrible schedule though. North Carolina, they got Georgia Tech, they got Florida State at home, they got SMU at home. Then they got 3 out of the last 4 on the road with Miami, NC State, and Wake Forest. And then of course they got 1 home game against Virginia Tech. They They lost a lot last year. Or this year, rather.
Yeah. But
and they didn't make up the difference in the transfer portal.
Yeah, but they've got the schedule to make up for it.
Schedule's favorable. Schedule is favorable. That's the one thing that plays in their favor. The schedule is favorable.
I can very easily see them being 6-0 going into that Florida State game, maybe 5-1.
6-0.
Look at that, Elon, Northwestern, UConn's probably the toughest out of that bunch. At middle, I can see them being 6-0 coming into that game.
All right. I don't know about 6-0, but I think they're in the same boat as Georgia Tech, North Carolina State. They're SMU. They're teams that are going to win games that they probably on the schedule. People look at them and say, you know, they'll be underdogs in some games, but I think they'll probably there'll be another team that get to 6 wins, possibly 7, if they can, you know, catch one of the teams that we think, like a Virginia Tech, a Miami, you know, one of those type teams where they can get a win, which is going to be tough. But they do have Virginia Tech at home, and but they're on the road at NC State, which we all know is tough.
Right.
But I'm not. I mean, I don't know what Northwestern has or North Carolina, and we'll get a chance to see what Georgia Tech has. But you know, North Carolina Duke is a rivalry game, so anything can go there. But I'm not sure about 6-0 going into Florida State, but I'll give them at least 6 or 7 wins.
Yeah, I was thinking 6 wins.
More than likely, they'll probably end up with 4 or 5.
That's probably also true. That's probably also true. I'm thinking 6 as well. Just because Wake Forest is on the schedule, I feel like SMU, maybe they're not quite ready yet.
They're going to surprise some people.
Huh?
They're going to surprise some people.
And they may surprise 1 or 2 people on here. So maybe 7, to squeeze out 7. But I'm going to say 6 because it's safe. But they can surprise some people for sure. All right.
I'll give them 7 wins.
You give them 7? Okay.
Yeah.
So
here's Boston College.
Syracuse treatment.
He's giving them the Syracuse treatment. He believes.
I don't believe. I believe that schedule is soft.
Well, speaking of interesting schedules, Boston College was done no favors whatsoever. This is a tough schedule, in my opinion.
Yes.
They opened with Florida State. On a Monday night, so the whole world's watching. Well, not the whole world, because there'll be some people not watching because it's Boston College. But a lot of people will be watching. Then they get Duquesne, which is fine. But then they go on the road to Missouri, and then they get Michigan State at home. And Western Kentucky is not a gimme.
No, it's not, because Western Kentucky has offense.
I don't know who scheduled that, but it's not a gimme.
Western Kentucky's offense, they can put on a show.
They can put on a show.
Their defense can't stop a cold.
Can't stop
their offense. Their offense, they can put up arena football numbers.
Absolutely.
They got Michigan State.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got Michigan State. I don't know who put that on the schedule. That was a mistake.
Why? Michigan State is not a juggernaut. They're
not.
They're just in a big conference.
They're not, but I gotta believe they're better than Boston College. I have to believe that. I could be wrong, but I gotta believe that.
You gotta be mindful of who the coach is now at Boston College.
Who is the coach at Boston? I don't even know.
Bill O'Brien.
So they're gonna be good. They're gonna be
ready.
but you
but
know
he
what
can.
kind of, but you know what the style of offense is going to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. They'll definitely be ready. They'll be way better
that
prepared
Western
than they
Kentucky.
probably
I'm
ever have
telling
been.
you, that game with them in Western Kentucky is going to be fun.
That could be
That
an
might
interesting
be
game.
50-48.
So, Charlie, are you predicting a breakout season for the Eagles?
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying
They do have a good quarterback.
they have a good quarterback, and I think their offensive line is going to be solid, of course. And I'm not sure who they have at the running back position, but I don't know who they're throwing the ball to. Zay Flowers is gone,
Right. That's
a
over.
couple
Yeah.
years now. So
Right.
I don't know who that is, but normally they have a solid defense as well. Um, so it's kind of hard to predict when you hadn't seen teams.
Right.
Yeah.
And then in this evolution of the transfer portal and coaches moving, and you just don't know. You just don't know what you're going to get until you start seeing teams compete.
Hmm.
So a lot of times it's hard to predict something that you hadn't seen, and you start going back to what they were last year. But as a coach, your team can definitely be different than last year, especially with the transfer portal and other guys stepping up their roles. So I'll just be interested to see how they start and what they look like. Um,
Well, here's one of the best things they got going for them. 4 of their last 5 is at home. That's probably the best thing that is happening on their schedule.
That's why I can get them up to 6 to 7 wins because of the 4 of the last 5 being at home.
Yeah. I can see them being wildly inconsistent, but at the same time, by the back end of the schedule, maybe it gets good. And then from the month of November, I don't know. I can see them sweeping that, possibly.
Possibly.
I
At
mean, that's
SMU will be
possible.
tough, but yeah, I can see them. I can see them sweeping that last month of the season.
Yeah. So I definitely see them
think
at
it's feasible.
6. I definitely see them at 6, possibly 7.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can see them somewhere between 5 and 7 wins. I think I can give them 7, to be honest with you.
Okay. Charlie, what you thinking on that one?
I'll give them 5 wins.
5? Okay.
Yes.
I think it might take Bill a little bit of time to get his feet wet and get his players, but they're going to be ready. Now, that's one thing you can't take away from the program. They're probably going to be more prepared than they've been in years. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
that's not the tallest hurdle to cross.
right. All right, Clemson. Here they come. And they're opening once again against Georgia. Let me ask you a question. This is just for my own personal wanting to know. What's going on with Clemson's schedule in Georgia every year? Like, why is that a thing? Are they friends? Is that what it is? And he just feel like he owes them a solid?
They're not that far apart.
Well, no, I know, but I'm saying you're not the Clemson you used to be. So it feels like you're just taking an L for the sake of taking an L.
Well, they don't believe they're not the Clemson they used to be.
Exactly. So it's
Have they looked in that mirror? Because they're not the Clemson they used to be.
It's really a good barometer test for your team.
Is it?
Yes.
I think, and part of that's an ESPN thing too.
I mean,
You gotta get that bread.
That check is just entirely too big not to turn down.
Right.
but the toughest game is not the Georgia game; it's the App State game.
Right.
Oh, it's always the App State game because
So to me,
you
the
never know
Georgia
what they're
game
gonna
is the Georgia game is you kind of want to get there and compete, play at a high level, see what your guys are made of. It kind of helps get you prepared during the preseason. But the toughest game is that App State game, to me,
Okay.
which is going to be the challenge for Clemson. And then they
Well,
got NC State at home, Stanford at home.
Mhm.
Then they play at Florida State, at Wake Forest. So, I mean, I can see them winning 8 or 9 games.
I can see him
uh,
going 10 and I can see him going 10-2.
yeah. Oh man.
Because the Louisville game, for one, they get it at home, and two, until Louisville beats them, I can't pick Louisville to beat them. And so they've literally never beaten
They haven't
Clemson.
done it yet, right? They
And
haven't done it yet.
So looking at the rest of the schedule, outside of Georgia and Florida State, I think they can handle their business. South Carolina will be tough at the end of the season, but they do get that game at home. So I think I can see them going 10-2, 9-3 at the worst.
Here's what we know Clemson's probably going to have. They're probably going to have a good defense. Probably. But here's what we also know they're not going to have. They're not going to have Will Shipley. So they're flying without a net this year, I think, until further notice. And
I think the quarterback that you hate takes a step.
Did they bring in someone to help replace Will Shipley, or they just elevated
I'm sure they brought somebody in. I don't know if they brought anybody. Well, they don't think they brought anybody in from the portal. I think they brought. They're relying on the young players. You know,
they had a guy that spared Will Shipley last year in some of those games. And he played a lot in the bowl game, and I can't think of his name.
Yeah, and he's not bad. He's not bad. So they're going to probably lean on that, hoping that he takes on the Will Shipley role. Because they're going to definitely try to run the ball. I think they're young everywhere else. And so listen, it's a different world out here, guys. We don't live in that bring in your freshman.
Come from? Well,
right. It's a different world.
That's how Clemson rolls, though.
Huh?
That's how Clemson rolls. They still roll like it's the same thing.
Yeah, I just don't know if they can get away with we got the better 5 stars than you got better 5 stars anymore. I think some of this experience around the conference is going to show up, and they may pay the cost for that. So
I'm on Clemson's website. I like the way they do their roster. If you go to the roster, because it's a nice big picture so you can see the guys.
Okay.
And, because a lot of them, it's just a little thumbnail picture. You can't really see what the guy. They've got a nice big picture, and you can see which number they are. I like the way they set that up.
Kendrick, you said 10-2. You can see 10-2.
Yeah. Outside of Georgia and Florida State, who else out there really poses that big of a threat? Maybe Louisville, but that game's at home, and Louisville's never beat them. Who else?
They don't have Notre Dame on the schedule.
They don't. I was looking at that. Yeah,
they're at Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's going to be a tough.
That'll be that's the toughest one. That's why I said I could see 9-3.
And they don't have Miami.
At Virginia Tech.
They don't have Miami either. So for whatever that means, I don't know what that means anything.
Looking at their pictures, they got a good solid group of kids that look like their daddy will sue you.
Hilarious. I've never heard a player described that way, but that's funny. I'm gonna go 9-3, just because I just the transfer portal is the X factor, and I just think I don't know. It's just.
But for them, for Clemson, and really they're good. The way they're doing stuff, I mean, they're still good. I mean, we laugh at them because Dabo seems behind the times on the transfer portal stuff, but they're still good. They still have talent. They're still getting 4- and 5-star athletes there, and so, and in the ACC, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they're avoiding. I mean, they get the toughest team in the ACC. They've got on the road, but Louisville's the other team on that schedule with Virginia Tech that they got, and they got Louisville at home. So they don't have Miami, they don't have Notre Dame, and so I think 10-2. I think 10-2 is very reachable.
All right. You agree, Charlie?
Yeah, I think 10-2 or 9-3.
Mm-hmm. 8-4 at the
there.
worst. 8-4
Yeah.
at the worst if South Carolina upsets them, because South Carolina is going to be pretty good this year.
So I can see that 8 to 10 wins.
I agree with that. All right. Right now, Miami is for sure the leader in the clubhouse as it relates to scheduling, or as far as the look. I won't say that. And this one doesn't have dates.
I expect Miami and Florida State to lead in the art every year.
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Louisville's going to be up there too.
Yeah, this is fantastic. By the way, now it doesn't have dates, so it just has home and away.
You know, they're still Miami.
Right. But
It's still gonna be stuff that don't make any sense.
Right. But it's a nice looking, visually looking thing. So I see FAMU. I guess what is that?
State.
All State.
Shout out to FAMU.
Yes.
The Rattlers. Shout out to the Rattlers.
One of my former teammates, the head coach there, James Cozy. So gotta shout out the Seminoles. The Rattlers.
The Rattlers, yeah.
That's from my
Seminole adjacent. There you go.
Seminole across the street.
Right, across
the tracks.
Right. So they got FAMU, they got Ball State, they got Florida State, Virginia Tech, Duke, and Wake Forest at home.
Is the Virginia Tech game at home? I can't.
Yeah, at home. Yeah. And then away they got Florida, South Florida, California,
Georgia Tech.
Is that Georgia Tech? What that S is who? Who is that? Syracuse? Okay.
Yeah.
And then Louisville. All the way. Apparently the dog takes great umbrage. He's like, away? What's that about? So again, it's Miami. Every year they're back, and until they're not.
I heard Greg Cody on the. If we're being honest, I heard Greg Cody on the Levitar show the other day said Miami's gonna go 12-1 or 11-1, and they're gonna make the playoffs. I was like, we do this every year.
Whoa, no, we don't do this.
No, we laugh at
the world does. Right, everybody else does. I've heard several outlets say, "Oh, Miami, this is their year. This is their year." And I'm like, it was their year last year, and the year before. it's their year every year,
and the decade before.
Right, it's been their year for quite some time, and we end up with the same results every time.
I see them losing to Florida State.
Yes.
That Florida game, they opened the season with that Florida game. I think that's going to be telling, because we don't know what we're getting with Florida, and we really don't know what we're getting with Miami. I think Miami does win that game, but I do think they lose up here at Louisville.
I think they lose in Louisville.
And then they'll lose to somebody they're not supposed to.
Well, speaking of that, I'm thinking traveling from Miami to California could be problematic, only because of that reason. Like, that's not a small trip. That's a huge trip. And I don't know, man. Miami's going to lose some games that they should not have lost. They do that every year. They lose 2 or 3 of those games. and I'm thinking that Cal game is one of those games.
Well, I'll just say this. It's really going to depend on how Cam Ward performs, because they're going to have talent, just like Florida State. They're going to have talent. And defensively, I think they're really good. Their linebacker crew. Last year, you started to see them play at a level that we expected Miami teams to play. They should have beat Florida State. But they weren't unable to. They just didn't have a quarterback play, when it was all said and done. So if Cam Ward can stay healthy, I think they have a chance to, be in that 10-2, 11-1 conversation and plan for the ACC championship when it's all said and done. So they have that type of talent, and their defense is really good. They may have some issues on the back end, but the front seven is going to be stout. And if they can figure out the back end piece, then they may be that team. So it's just be interesting to see how they fare when it comes to some of their weaknesses, and if those weaknesses aren't glaring, and they're able to become stronger over the course of the season with some of the teams that they're playing early on, especially, then they'll have a chance to be in the ACC championship talk for sure.
I think I don't know, Sheriff, you was back on when we was talking about that game at Florida. I think we're going to open the season. I think we're going to learn a lot about both of those teams.
That is true. I mean, that is true.
Cam Ward playing well is obviously the most critical of these things that we've mentioned, Charlie. But I also want to echo something else and add to it. I'm curious about their running game and what that's going to look like in complement to what Cam Ward does.
They brought in that kid.
Right. And so I'm curious if he can complement Cam Ward's game, then that may be the difference because I think Miami's defense has been solid the last 3 years, but no defense. Yeah, but no defense can stay on the field 48 minutes. Like, that's just so somebody's got to give them. And the run game, when they have a lead, is going to need to kind of give that defense some time and to breathe and to be okay and give Cam Ward those open lanes, that he can do what he does. So I don't know. I listen. How many times has Miami let us down? Many. So. Yeah, on paper it looks like an 11-1 team, but
Canes.
I do believe in.
You're not going to trust the Canes.
I believe in Cam Ward more than I've believed in any quarterback they've had over this time.
Yes.
So that makes a world of difference. Now, can they keep him upright? That's going to be the question. But they've got the players. They've got the offensive line to do it. They've got everything in place. It does feel like, but it just feels like at some point Miami's going to Miami.
So to your point, Charlie, is coach coaching for his job, because you can't keep having the players based on what you just said, Kendrick, and then and every year you're coming up like not just short,
his second year,
tremendously short.
This is only Cristobal's second year, though, so I don't think he's.
That's not my. And what's your point?
It's Miami. They are a private school. They don't have money to keep shelling out to pay all these coaches.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'm throwing it out there because we understand the impatience of sports today. And
what do you think, Charlie?
I don't think. I mean, we keep throwing. There are some people that may be in that boat. But I think they have a good enough team, and they're recruiting. That's the thing that you also have to look at is, they're in a place now where they're starting to recruit well. If you're winning 9-10 games or in the conversation for, talking about ACC championship or getting to the playoffs, those are things you have to think about, because if you bring in someone new, then you're going to lose some recruits. Then you got to start all over again. And so those are things, unless the wheels fall off, this year, that's something totally different.
What's the wheels falling off? 4 losses?
No, not all, not overall. But like in the middle of the season, they lose a couple, lose some games that they shouldn't lose. And the team has lost what, if they lose, like just for instance, if Cam Ward goes down, I don't know who the backup is, but it could be very similar to what they've experienced in the past, where their starter goes down, then they have to bring in a backup.
Yeah.
And
Then all bets off at that point. Yeah.
Team looks totally different from an
Yeah.
offensive standpoint. And you know, in good games, you're going to need at least average quarterback play.
Yeah.
And
have another loss like they had last year. What was that, Georgia Tech, when all they had to do was just down the ball?
Yeah.
That
Can't
will
have another one of them.
correct. Now that will go a long ways into him being relieved earlier if he has another blunder, something similar to that.
Gotcha.
But he's a Miami guy. You know what I mean? He's a Miami guy. He's recruiting. He's a recruiter. He is a recruiter, so he's gonna bring in talent. So I think his leash is gonna be a little bit longer than people expect.
Should be.
Plus, they said it's a private school. It's hard for them to keep paying off coaches.
Listen, no arguments here. No arguments here. Now I got to give Virginia credit here on creativity. This is fantastic.
Except one thing.
What's that?
There's nothing on here that lets you know that this is Virginia.
That's the only problem. Well, on each card,
that thing is supposed to be.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if you can see it on each card. It does say Virginia at the top.
Yeah.
But it's still weird. Like that part's weird. But I like the concept.
Creativity. Yeah, I do like that.
So they got Richmond to open the season with the Spiders. Then Wake Forest, then Maryland, which the Maryland game, you know, that's it.
You just never know what Maryland is.
Exactly. Then you got Coastal Carolina, Boston College. So the first 5 games
are winnable
games.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the first real test probably is Louisville at home, which they get at home. Then Clemson on the road. Clearly they don't like Clemson because they put that little kitty cat there. That's funny.
Well, the North Carolina was even funnier.
Yeah, the North Carolina thing, that feels like shade. And then Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, back-to-back on the road, then SMU, and then they end, of course, with their rivalry game, Virginia Tech.
The Pittsburgh one looks more like an NC State mascot than a Panther.
It does kind of. It does have. Went for the P. You could go either way. I'm gonna go 6 wins on this one for sure. Maybe 7. Maybe
that
7.
Coastal Carolina one's gonna be tricky.
The thing that you have to be mindful of is, you know, last year they lost quite a few one-score games.
They lost a lot, yes.
And that was the telltale sign for me that they've made some improvements in their competitive spirit, talent-wise. And it's Coach Elliott's 3rd year, I think it is now.
Yeah, this is a make or break for him, I think.
So, well, I'm not going that far, but I just think he's bringing them along, especially with all that they've been going through, you know, to get to where they are now. But for them to lose one-score games last year, where games were really, really close, and some of the games they were actually winning.
Yeah.
And you know, in the 4th quarter. So this could be their breakout year to where they may win 6, potentially 7 games if they can make a few of those swings in some of the closer games.
I'm saying 7, but I am also saying it is make or break because last year, I think going into that year, he got a pass because everybody knew what they were dealing with. And I think this year, the dust is finally settled, and now you got to go back to playing football and winning. And I think he's set up for some success this year, though I think there are some gaps on the roster. It's still not so bad that they can't maybe make up the difference in the coaching and say, okay, we might not have completely the player we want there, but we can coach these guys up to get that 1 point we missed last year. So I think they get the 7 this year and they pull it off. Kendrick, what do you think?
Yeah, I think at least 7. If you look at just looking at their schedule, just at a glance, just you know, not really knowing too much. It's only 2 games on there you really look at and be like, yeah, I just really don't see them winning that game. Of course, it's at Clemson and at Notre Dame, but the rest of those games are winnable to me for them. Because, I mean, like Charlie said, they had a bunch of one-score losses. I mean, they had U of L beat last
Very
year
much
in
so.
Louisville.
Very much so.
And so, yeah, there's only 2. So I could see them getting 7, 8 wins this season. Well, at the same time, though, those games are toss-ups. I can see them. I think that they're somewhere between 5 and 8 wins.
Yeah. And also the quarterback. I mean, last year they brought in a guy that they felt comfortable with going in. He got injured playing with the true freshman quarterback who was a true freshman. I mean, he was dynamic, and then he was not dynamic.
Right. He was. You know what he was, Charlie? He was a freshman.
So he's inexperienced. I'll just say that. I mean, when you don't play, you gotta try and figure it out on the run. But he made plays, and also made plays for other team as well. So I think, if they can get him playing at a high level, because I think he may be the guy this year. Yeah. Anyway, then if they get him playing at a high level, he gives them a chance to win every game.
I agree, 100%. I don't know what NC State was going for here. This looks incredibly confusing.
And is that Tennessee on that second game?
It is. It is Tennessee, but it looks like it's in Charlotte. It looks like the game is in Charlotte.
That's why I'm all the way up on the screen, because I can't read it.
It's a very confusing picture. Not sure why they went with a collage.
A lot of teams do that, though. I've seen that a lot.
Yeah, but this one's not great because they're so condensed. Like everything is so small, so you can't really see it. I actually had to add the stuff, the schedule on the side to kind of bring some balance to the picture because it wasn't making like if you pull that picture out, it doesn't get any better. So we had to put that on the side. So anyway, West Carolina to open the season, Tennessee at I guess technically that's a neutral site, but not really because it's in Charlotte. Then Louisiana Tech. So you say they got technically three home games to start the season before they go to Clemson. Then they get Northern.
They've got a favorable schedule.
They do. I was going to say
play Clemson. They don't. They avoid Louisville, Florida State, and Miami, and Notre Dame.
This is actually a really good schedule for NC State because these are all winnable games. Like other than the Clemson, maybe I don't see any game on their schedule that they can't win.
I mean, they could get in the ACC championship game with this schedule.
If the team is solid enough, I mean.
So I guess we need to go back to their personnel. Like they've had multiple quarterbacks.
Yeah.
They've had multiple quarterbacks leave and go elsewhere. So the question is, who have they settled with in that position? I don't know who the quarterback is this year. They normally have a solid defense.
Yeah, they're always solid on defense.
But they lost some key players. I think they have one of their linebackers coming back. I just know it's number one. I think he's coming back. But they lost Peyton to the NFL. The player
he was a monster. He was a monster.
Player of the year. He was their best player. And so they lost him as well. So it'll be interesting to see, what they have. I think they may be in that middle tier behind some of the top leaders, but looking at their schedule, they have a chance to be in the top tier.
Yes. They 8 of their games are at home, and one of them and one of the road games is at Charlotte.
I'll be honest with you, I can easily see them getting into the AC championship game. Like it's not hard to see that at all. Especially if it's a chaotic ACC year where 3 games gets you there. 3 losses, I mean, gets you there. Because they could easily have only 2 losses.
Yeah.
Like real easy. I'm
maybe 3 because they could drop at California, at Georgia Tech, or at North Carolina. And they can really
keep in
lose
mind
all
they were 9-3 last year. They were 9-3 last year. So
right.
it is not unbelievable to believe that they could come back and duplicate that exact same feat. So I'm going to lean toward that 9-3 again.
Yeah, I think that really the bottom for them is 7 wins, and the top is 10, maybe even 11, because they could beat Tennessee.
I was gonna say I think their bottom is 8, but I'm not gonna, you say 7, I'm not. That's not enough to quarrel over. It's they're gonna be. It's a good schedule. It's a really good schedule.
What do you think, Coach Junior?
Yeah, like I said, like you guys are saying, I think bottom probably be 7 wins, and then the top could be 11.
Yeah. All right. Well, there we go.
I'll swing games here and there. They're going to have close games. Because the thing is, ACC is going to be just like most of the conferences, I should say, with all the different teams. There are a lot of good teams, mid-tier teams that could win, a game or 2 against some of what we consider the top-tier teams. So they're one of those teams in the ACC that, of course, with their schedule, they're not hitting very few of the heavy hitters considered heavy hitters in the ACC. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle this schedule. They take advantage of it, because all you need is 1 year.
Charles, I was going to ask you and Kendrick this question, because you kind of hinted to it. The only negative to me of their schedule is while they could have a good looking schedule in the sense of record, nationally it might be looked upon as not so good, and they could be in the bottom half of the AP and USA Today polls because they're not playing Florida State, they're not playing Miami, they're not playing Louisville. So
that was Louisville last year.
Right. That's Louisville's problem last year. So that could work against them in that regard.
So where are they starting? Because as we all know, it depends on where you start.
Right.
If you start in the top 10 and you win some games, then you stay, or you continue to, move up. But if you start outside of the poll, the top 25, and you have like this where you don't have, meaningful games considered with top tier teams, then you don't get a chance to move up. Even though your record may be, 5-0, 6-1, 7-1,
mm-hmm.
maybe you may not continue to move up because you're not playing any top tier teams. And so,
and that's exactly what it feels.
Because you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten. That's just being
right. And that's exactly what this schedule feels like. It feels like if they don't get that Clemson win, which it feels like they probably won't, they'll get all these other wins and it won't matter.
It won't matter. Yeah, exactly.
Right. It won't matter. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all unfolds. But they got a good schedule. I mean, record-wise, it could be good.
Tennessee's ranked. I think Tennessee's 15. They're midway top 20.
They're gonna have to beat. They'll have to beat either Tennessee or Clemson to get any respect. If they lose both of those games, if they lose both of those games and run the table, it's not going to matter.
It won't matter.
Well,
And
But they'll get in the ACC championship game if they do that. So that's more important.
but
so
the other thing,
I mean, the thing that we also have to be mindful of is there are other ways to get into the playoffs.
yeah,
And
oh yeah.
your conference. And so with that schedule, you just want to make sure that you're in the top tier of your conference,
Yeah.
be able to get into the championship game and have a chance to at least win the championship game moving forward.
It looks like Carolina took that same frame of thought with their schedule.
Yeah. This is there's a lot of front loading going on with these schedules here this year. Minnesota, Charlotte, North Carolina Central. James Madison and Duke does not sound like the juggernaut start to the season. Although the Minnesota one is not a gimme.
Minnesota's tricky. James Madison's actually tricky too.
I would say that's that they need to be concerned about.
Yeah.
Because they had a tough time with one of those type of teams last year, and they had a top tier quarterback. I don't know if you remember.
Yeah, James Madison was legit last year.
Yeah.
But
5 out of 7 at home is pretty good.
And James Madison has a new coach. So
back half of the schedule gives you Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech, Virginia on the road, Florida State on the road, Wake Forest and NC State at home, Boston College on the road. The problem is that they got gutted a little bit. So North Carolina did. I mean, right at the top, there's no Drake May. So
and his receiver, that receiver.
I was gonna say the receiver's gone. So you don't know what you're getting.
They got Brad Johnson's sons there.
Okay.
And one's a quarterback.
Is he gonna play like his daddy?
One's a quarterback, one's a tight end.
I used to have 2 kids there. I didn't realize I had 2.
Yes.
Oh, you got 2 kids there. Wow. Okay. That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, this is another one I can see winning 10 games.
We'll have to worry about chemistry issues there.
I mean, it's another. You look at it and say they can win 10 games and will get 0 respect.
Well, listen. Surely they're going to win 6 games for sure.
Yeah, they're definitely a bowl team.
Right, they're definitely a bowl team for sure.
That James Madison game is going to, like I said, because James Madison was really good. They have a new coach. It's at home, but it's going to be a tricky game.
Yeah, for sure.
And that at Minnesota to open the season is tricky too.
And then Wake Forest will give you one game for sure every year that you say, how the heck did they win that? And this kind of feels like that game. Even though it's on the road for Wake Forest, it kind of feels like that game. So I don't know. I'm going to say 8 wins for sure.
I give them 8.
Yeah.
8 and top off at 10.
Yeah.
And I think the basement for them is 7 also, like NC. Well, who else we said? I think there's somewhere between 7 and 10.
The schedule sets up very nice. Very, very nice.
Very nice job scheduling by North Carolina and North Carolina State.
Right. You somewhere near there, Charlie?
I can see 7 wins.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I said I can see 7 wins.
Okay.
And potentially 8 to 9 if they are able to, beat an NC State. Yeah, NC State. NC State. I was giving them Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's gonna be a tough out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Pitt kept it simple. They put one person on it, told him to hold the football, and said, "We'll just fill the flanks around you." They opened with Kent State and Cincinnati. West Virginia, which is always tough because that's a rivalry game.
Right.
Youngstown State, then North Carolina on the road. Then they go West Coast to Cali. Well, no, they stay at home. Sorry, they stay at home with Cali. They stay at home with Syracuse. Then they go to SMU. Then back at home, interestingly, for Virginia and Clemson back to back. And then they finish on the road with Louisville and Boston College. I don't know.
Pittsburgh's tough to predict.
One thing we know about Pitt, going to Pitt is no picnic.
Right.
So
at that janky stadium, the janky turf.
Yeah.
Grass, whatever that stuff is they play on.
So other than Clemson, I could see them winning every one of those games at home. That would not surprise me.
And I could see them getting up and surprising Clemson, to be honest with you.
Right. Because Clemson, at Pitt at home, didn't they almost get them last year at home?
Well, they was at Clemson last year, wasn't they?
Okay, but I thought Pitt almost beat them last year. Am I off on that one?
Well, let's see. I've got Clemson right here. So let me go check their schedule.
Yeah, I feel like they almost beat. I could be wrong. Pitt surprised somebody last year. I know they got Louisville, right?
They beat Louisville. Louisville had a ton of injuries that game, but yeah.
Right. It was a crazy game. Yeah.
Hold on. Clemson's website does weird
I'm
stuff.
I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 while you're looking it up. 4, 5.
I say 6 wins.
I'm going to say 7. What's that, Charlie?
I'm giving them 6 wins.
You going 6?
Yes.
I'm going 7 just because I think they're going to get at least, other than the Clemson, I see the other 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games at home going well for them. And then I think they sneak one more on the road, probably the SMU, because SMU in November is a pretty solid game weather-wise.
They didn't play Clemson last year.
They didn't play Clemson. Okay, I just don't remember who it was then. It was one game they stole. It was
the Louisville
game they weren't supposed to win. They stole it. But I know that right. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I don't know. But I'm going 7. Where you going, Kendrick?
I'll go 1. West Virginia is kind of tricky, even though they're at home. That West Virginia, that rivalry.
Yeah.
I can give them 7.
All right. Speaking of Wake Forest, I'll give points for the presentation. This is not bad.
That's nice. That's nice. Dude, they got a tough schedule.
Yeah, their schedule is brutal to me. Well, the problem is they don't. We don't know what they are. Like what is Wake Forest?
Yeah, because the Stanford game could go either way. Why does UConn play so many ACC games every year? Just bring them in at this point.
Yeah, they need the money. They need the money.
The ACC.
We need to go ahead.
They need. I mean, I think they would be a great addition to the ACC.
It would be basketball wise for sure.
Especially basketball wise.
Yeah, they for sure would be basketball wise.
They're competitive football wise.
They would be no different than a Wake Forest in football.
Right.
Right.
They'd be competitive. Yeah, I think they'd be a great addition. I don't know why they haven't made that move. And women's basketball wise, Jesus, Stanford, Louisville, NC State, UConn.
Not 100% sure why they scheduled Ole Miss for homecoming. That seems a little like a.
And why is homecoming the third week of the season?
That feels like a misstep.
Seems like all their games are at home for the first 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, they opened the season for the first 4 weeks at home. Like they're at home. But it's not necessarily a good at home. Like
No.
They can easily go 1-3 at home in the first 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
So then they go on the road to NC State. Then they come back home for Clemson, on the road for UConn and Stanford. They might as well stay out there. Well, no, because Cal comes home. That's a weird scheduling.
Who is that after Cal?
They're going,
I can't read.
UNC. That's North Carolina.
Okay.
And then Miami.
Oh, I can see them going 4-8.
Yeah, this is not a good schedule. Not a great schedule.
They did not take the North Carolina and North Carolina State route.
They did not. I don't understand Ole Miss early game at all.
But we're gonna have to see them though, to see what they are when it comes to what their talent, who's quarterback, what they have around them, because the system is a system. I don't know if they changed it, but it'd be interesting to just see what they have this first couple weeks, or first week, and then they play Virginia September 7th.
Yeah.
So just be interesting to see how they fare, what they have before we can really make a prediction, because we don't know. I mean,
well, I'll tell you what.
Based on last year, based on last year, I think Virginia's a toss up. UConn's a toss up just because UConn has had success playing ACC teams, and I think Cal and Duke are toss ups. So if they can win all of those, then they're in business.
Well, somebody believes in them because this is a tough schedule. Based on last year's assessment going into this year, this is a tough schedule. So somebody believes in them, and maybe they have gotten better. They are a cyclical program in that.
Very cyclical, yeah.
Yeah. So it could be this. Maybe they believe this is the year that it should come together. So I don't know, but I'm going to go 5 wins. I'm going 5.
Yeah.
So, all right, we got a couple more going here. SMU, welcome to the ACC.
Right. I like the
is
Dallas on the jersey. I can't read it. Is it Holy Cross?
It's got to be Holy Cross. Yes, I'm going Holy Cross. That feels like Holy Cross. All right, so they open with Holy Cross, BYU, TCU, and Florida State. All at home, by the way. All at home.
they have a good home schedule.
Yeah.
To me, I think sleeper team.
They're a deep. What did you say, Charlie?
Sleeper team.
Sleeper. Okay.
I pick them as my sleeper team.
Okay.
I got a chance to see them play TCU last year, and they held their own. And then you watched them play the rest of the year. They were very solid. They were a top tier team in the American Conference last year. They represented the group of 5 well. So I see them making a big jump. They have the potential to make the biggest jump quicker because of the resources they have from Dallas. And Hughes are rich. They have great alumni. So they
have a history of great alumni.
NIL is not going to be a problem.
Most of that great alumni did not play. They have a history of great alumni.
They will have zero problem getting their NIL.
There's a reason why they're paying to be in the conference, because they know they can make a move really fast.
Not a problem. Just on basic tuition alone, it's not going to be a problem.
SMU is a sleeping giant. I think we're catching them right now.
Yeah,
I think where they are right now is probably going to be their worst team in the ACC just because it's their first year.
Oh yeah,
they're a sleeping giant, and they're coming.
And by the way, I don't know if you had a chance to see them. I have. Facilities are fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I mean,
They're
it's
not.
Texas.
They're not going to be sleep for long. Trust me.
Yeah.
They're not going to be sleep for long.
The death penalty is over with, and
Yeah,
what they
got
the death penalty for is totally legal now.
Right. So they have history of knowing how to do this. So there you go.
I can see them being 3-1 potentially, or 4-0, depending upon how they handle TCU. Coming to play Florida State coming to play them. Then they got Stanford, Duke, Pitt, which they can win all those games.
Yeah.
And they can win at Louisville too.
Boston College and Virginia and Cal. They essentially can win all those games.
There's only really their toughest game, of course, is Florida State, and they get that game at home, and you can imagine what that environment's going to be like. Both of them, because both of them should come in there undefeated. So yeah, that's going. And with the BYU, are they supposed to be good this year? Do we know?
BYU's BYU.
Yeah.
Right, you just never know with them.
Right.
So,
I was going to say who. Yeah, they could be
BYU. The BYU and TCU games are the two tricky ones as far as really seeing where they're going to be at. But yeah, I mean, I think once they get through that once they start getting on the road, I can see them getting 7, 8, 9 wins this year.
Yeah, I think their bottom is probably 9 wins.
Their bottom is 9.
Bottom is 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I mean, you look at their schedule. I mean, they can compete with all these teams.
Yes, they can. Yeah.
I mean, and Florida State is what you would call the outlier, but I still think they have, from my understanding, with the transfer portal, they brought in some guys, and then who they bringing back, which was a very good defense, and then their quarterback situation, the Stone kid got hurt, and then there was another player they brought in that finished off the season. I wouldn't say he's a world beater, but he was enough to be able to help them, win the AAC. And so I just think their team, where with this schedule, they can win the majority of the games, or they'll be be competing in the majority of the games. I think we're looking at SMU as I think Memphis would be another team that would fit into a conference like the Big 12 or ACC, just because of their makeup. And I mean, they probably could fit in the SEC. I mean, Vanderbilt's in the SEC.
Right. Right.
You could argue Memphis is much better than Vanderbilt.
So, I mean, you could potentially, Memphis could potentially be in the SEC if Vanderbilt's there.
Right.
Yeah. You could argue that SMU is much better than Boston College.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being honest. Now, that may not be true this year, coaching-wise, but like roster-wise, it's not a far stretch. Yeah, not a far stretch. I'm going to go conservatively. You guys are like 9. I'm going to go conservatively 8, maybe 7.
I think their bottom is 7. I think their highest 9 or 10.
But I agree with you, Charlie, that they're not they're not a mid-major
no
anymore. That's over. They're now coming into that Power 5 thing again. So Stanford's was not very good either. We had to create something for them. So and their schedule, is not great. They got TCU, they got Cal Poly. They're on the road to Syracuse, on the road to Clemson. They do get Virginia Tech at home, but then they're on the road to Notre Dame. Then they got SMU and Wake Forest at home. Then they're on the road to NC State. They do get Louisville, and then they get Cal and then San Jose State. The problem with Stanford is that Stanford has taken several steps back from the Stanford that we used to know and love. And so I don't know this might not be the year that they're going to be like really great.
No,
So
they've been down. I see four, maybe five wins.
you're being generous. I'm going to go 2. I'm saying they get Cal Poly and
San Jose State.
And maybe San Jose State at the end of the season.
That's on the road.
Right. Well, they rally together from all the lessons they've learned throughout the season and somehow knock off San Jose State. Yeah, it's going to be a rough season, I think. I think it's going to be a rough season for them.
Yeah, let's go ahead and fly through them.
Syracuse, new coach.
I give them 4-0 to start, just because that's what Syracuse does. That's what they do every year.
Yeah,
and then you buy into it, and then Charlie and I sit here and laugh at you for buying into it, and then they turn into Syracuse again.
Oh no! I'm done. I'm done buying Syracuse. That's over. That is over.
But,
I am delivered.
I mean, they could start 3-1 though.
Right, they could be 3-1, going to Vegas, which is not an easy game, but they should be able to beat UNLV.
Yeah.
But then they're at NC State. They should be able to beat Pitt, or at least be competitive. That should be a competitive game. I think they'll lose Virginia Tech. They'll be competitive against Boston College. They should beat Cal and UConn. And then, of course, they'll probably end up losing to Miami.
I give them 7-5.
I've always given them 75. They've always let me down.
Yeah, they're gonna lose to somebody. They shouldn't lose.
6 to 7.
Yeah, I'm with Charlie on that one.
I'm going under just because it's a new system, new coach, new everything. I'm going 5.
You're a scorned lover.
Yes. I am a scorned lover for sure. This isn't unique in the sense of what they're presenting, but it's so crisp.
It is very nice.
Crispiness of it. So it's really good. Is that Vanderbilt? Is that the way they open the season?
Yep.
That'll be interesting. They should win that though.
That Rutgers is a trap game.
Going to Miami.
That Rutgers is a trap game.
It is, but I don't. But I think they'll want to say they got something to prove this year. So I'm going to say they win that one. I say they're 4-0 going to Miami.
That Rutgers game scares me since they 4-0. Because I'm saying it's before they play the big game against Miami, and it's on the road. This is a throwback 80s
right? Virginia Tech game, Virginia Tech season.
They're going to have tough games against Rutgers, Miami, potentially Georgia Tech, depending upon how they start, Clemson.
I can give them 8 wins.
Yeah, I can see 8 or 9 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Depending upon how their quarterback plays. If he plays lights out, then they'll probably win more. They could be in the upper echelon, 10 wins.
I'm gonna go 7. I some of these games, like you said, scare me. Don't love the Rutgers game. Don't love the Miami game for them. I don't love the Georgia Tech game, from being honest.
But they're playing that one at home, though.
They're at home, though. You know how tough their environment is at home. I can see them losing to Rutgers and beating Miami, to be honest with you.
I can see that too. But Georgia Tech, this is the kind of game that they sneak up on you in. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that. I still give them 7-8 wins.
Yeah, I said 7. So I do like Virginia Tech though. I do like them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Cal, a decent looking presentation. You know.
It looks black and gold, even though they're blue.
even though they're blue, right?
I guess you could say it's Navy.
I don't know who this first team is. I have no idea.
I have no idea who that is.
It's UC Davis.
Oh, UC Davis.
UC Davis. Okay.
But what's the A for?
Huh? What's the A for? What are they?
I know Auburn, but I'm talking about that. You said UC Davis. What's that A for in that logo, though?
I don't know.
What's their mascot?
Davis. You said A? I don't know what the A is. I don't know, but that's who it is.
Since we don't really know the logo, I'll just give them that win.
I was gonna say if I can't identify your logo, it's probably not a good sign for your squad. So they went Auburn the second game of the season. That's interesting.
Yeah, because it's at home. They played them last year out there. They actually almost won the game. Should have won the game, I think, last year, but they lost it late, I do believe. But
wow.
I mean, this is
a tough schedule.
San Diego State may be a tough opponent as well.
I think San Diego State's supposed to be good. That's brutal to start the season.
And then you go to Pitt. I can see them going 1-5.
Yes. Then NC State.
Yeah.
Schedule. I mean, they had Florida State at Pitt, but then they have Miami, NC State, Oregon State at Wake Forest. Then they got Syracuse, Stanford all at home. So it's not a brutal, because half of the battle is a travel piece, for them.
That's what I was thinking, Charlie. That's exactly what I was sitting there thinking. The travel piece.
I can't give them more than 5 wins.
Yeah, they're going to be around that number because they got some tough games.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And then I think our last team is Louisville. Yeah, that's Louisville. I don't know. This is fine. It's not dynamic.
No, I mean, at least they get Notre Dame and Miami and Clemson. So, I mean.
Oh, no. I was just looking at the look of the schedule.
Oh, the look of it?
I hadn't even got to the games yet.
Yeah, I hate when they make the schedule. You can't see their own logo.
They should be 3-0 going to Notre Dame.
They should be.
They should.
I mean, and that's winnable. They've won at Notre Dame before. Last time they played at Notre Dame, they was competitive, even though that Louisville team was terrible that year.
Well, one thing about it, they won't be afraid of Riley Leonard at all.
No.
So
no, they shouldn't. They beat them last year.
Right. So they could easily be 4-0, 5-0. The Virginia is a little tricky.
A little shaky, but they won their last time.
They won there. They get Miami at home, which is big.
This is not really a brutal schedule.
No.
It's not. 8-0 going to Clemson could be very exciting.
I think just really and truly, their top end of this is undefeated.
Yeah.
At the top.
Yeah.
Realistically, 9-3, 8-4.
Yeah. The tricky part is the last 4 games because of the way that they're set up. Yeah. 1, they're 3 on the road. The travel to Stanford coming off of the Clemson game is not great. And then, of course,
they have a bye week in there, though.
There's a bye week, right? There's a bye, but still, that's a lot of travel. It's a lot of stuff going on.
And they haven't beaten Kentucky in 5 years.
And they haven't beaten Kentucky in forever. So I don't know.
As I say, top end 12-0, bottom I think is 8-4.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I can see that as well. I'm gonna say 9-3.
A lot of it depends on if Shucks stays healthy, which he never has.
Yeah,
and so
are they going to get the receiver that they lost back?
Amari Huggins, Bruce. That's been the rumor the last couple of days that he may return, especially since Lacey got hurt.
My assumption is they're not going to need anybody until September 28th.
Colin Lacey broke his collarbone over the weekend.
Right.
He's supposed to expect to be a big part of the offense. But he'll be back. We just don't know when. If they can get Amari Huggins Bruce back, that would be huge. I do love that running back they got from Miami. Hold on, I'll give you his name in a second. Donald Chaney. I've been out there to practice. That is a giant human being running the ball.
Okay.
So
strong at the run or pass, in your opinion?
Well, they've got depth at receiver. The quarterback is the question because
he's never healthy.
All the accounts, he has the talent, but he's never healthy. And
never healthy. He's not been healthy his entire career.
And listening to them, we literally just talked to Brian Brom, the offensive coordinator, on Monday. They haven't settled on who the backup is, and they don't sound the most confident when they're talking about it. It sounds like Pierce Clarkson's most likely the backup. And if you've seen Pierce Clarkson, he came in with all the accolades, but he's small. And so that they got depth at running back, they got depth at receiver. They brought in a ton of tight ends, so they have depth there. Then on the defensive side of the ball, we got Gelati coming back, which I was surprised he came back. And so they should be stout on defense. And so they should be able to get through the season just fine. It just depends on Chef.
Just out of pure interest and curiosity, why did Gelati come back? Because by all practical purposes, he was slotted to be drafted. Now, I don't know if he was slotted like high.
He NIL money / he can probably improve his stock.
There's no rush.
Yeah,
there's no rush.
Just like JJ Weaver at Kentucky. I was stunned when he came back.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these kids like that.
There's really no rush anymore. There's no rush to go and from all the pre-draft stuff that I've seen, Gelati's looking like a surefire second to third, maybe first if he has a good season.
I think if he has a good season, I think he can sneak into the first.
Yeah, if he has a good season, he's the first for sure, first rounder. But because he's pre All-American, right? In a lot of publications.
He's All-American, and then because I'm here, Deion Walker at Kentucky were both All-Americans.
Yeah, so I can understand him saying, I'm not in a rush. Let me see if I can get my draft status up. Maybe we can sneak in and have a phenomenal season, and who knows. So that makes sense to me. But it was just interesting to me that he did come back because every draft board that I saw had him going for sure. Yeah. Not high, but they had him going.
Yeah, he's a heck of a player.
Yeah, for sure. He's gonna play on Sunday for sure. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, that was fun. Real quick before we get out of here, your favorite thing that you saw sports-wise this summer?
For me, it's easy. It's Steph Curry in the Olympics.
That was. I didn't think I could be shocked by that guy anymore, but that was shocking. That was an unbelievable performance.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing I saw.
Yeah,
there are quite a few things at the Olympics that was amazing. But I have to go with Simone Biles.
She was my second.
Her comeback from the last Olympics was tremendous, and just her performance in those clutch moments. She knew she was better, and she just went out and performed at a high level, and it showed. So that was encouraging, and just to see her husband, their support as well.
Yes.
So, he gets a lot of flack sometimes for just being Simone Biles' husband.
Right.
Which is so stupid to me.
But it was just great to see her perform at a high level and show people that you can come back. There are times where we have mental blocks and not able to overcome. But to be able to come back and perform at a high level takes courage, perseverance, and consistency to believe in, our Heavenly Father, and then the work, two.
Yeah. Super proud of Sha'Carri Richardson and her ability to overcome a lot of stuff that she overcame. super impressed with Sydney McLaughlin Leverone, I think it is her last name now.
Lavroni.
Lavroni. Okay. I don't know why she just doesn't run the 400 outright. She is incredible. Like that 4x4 was insane. That was unbelievable.
It's so crazy to see how it looks like she's jogging and no one is close to her.
No one is close to her. It's just, that was like, what in the world? But my highlight was for sure Raygun from Australia. That will live in my mind. But she single-handedly killed breakdancing in the Olympics. Single-handedly.
Well, it was only a 1-year thing anyway, but yeah.
Oh
she
my
gave
God.
everybody the ammunition.
It was so bad. It was so bad. And what I love most about it is that she's still 10 toes down on what did I do wrong. I love it.
Yes.
I love it. I love that she doesn't see it at all.
Right.
Listen,
yes.
If you're gonna be a legend in your own mind. There's nothing wrong with it.
If you don't believe it, nobody else is going
If
to.
you don't believe it, nobody else will believe it. So I love it. I thought it was fantastic. So anyway, those are our summer sports shout outs. So there you go. We'll hold off on predictions for next week. Everybody gets a pass this week. Plus, I think we're all gonna pick Florida State to beat.
We're all gonna pick Florida State anyway.
So it doesn't really matter. So we'll get into. What'd you say, Charlie?
Go Nose.
Go Nose. Go Nose. So with that being said, that was a lot of fun. We will be back next week to do it all over again. That is the great Kendrick Hatton. That's Charlie Ward. This is Believe in the ACC. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. Tune in next week. We'll do it all over again. You've been listening to Believe in the ACC with Charlie Ward, Lloyd Spence, and Kendrick Haskins. Please like, follow, subscribe, and share from the Noisemakers page on Facebook and on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, and wherever podcasts can be heard. And join us next time on Believe in the